Terry. Good afternoon. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. Today, our student representative is Isabel Serrano from Booker High School, and Isabel will lead us in the pledge. The Booker High School JROTC cadets will present the colors. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Post. Colors. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. About. Face. Forward. March.
Welcome, Isabel Serrano. It's nice for you to join us as our student representative. Could you tell us some more about yourself, please?
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Isabel Serrano, and I'm a now graduate of Booker High School. I was a College for Every Student Brilliant Pathways student ambassador, as well as a student mentor, a co-leader of the CFES Medics Club, and a 4-year-long FSU Stride mentee. My passions lie in the medical field, as I wish to someday become a psychiatrist. I have been pursuing this goal by doing dual enrollment as well as the ACE Cambridge program offered to me by my school. In the summer, I will be going to Florida State University to continue my educational journey.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Isabel, we would like to, on behalf of the board, I'd like to give you a certificate and present you with that and wish you the very best of luck in your future.
Thank you very much.
Let's give Isabel another round of applause. Our first presentation this afternoon is to recognize the Venice High School baseball team. Mr. James Slayton, athletic supervisor, will begin the presentation. Mr. Slayton, please.
We've come together to recognize the amazing state championship accomplishments of the Venice High School baseball team. I'd like to thank Superintendent Connor, School Board, Attorney Duggan, for realizing the importance of recognizing these great student athletes. The 23-24 school year has been a banner year for athletics for Sarasota County Schools. This past school year, the district teams have won 5 state championships, and district individuals have won 22 state championships for a combined 27 state championships. These fine student athletes exhibit the very characteristics that our district desires from all of our student athletes, and that is to be the best citizens, students, and athletes they can be. This baseball team that we're going to recognize today won the FHSAA Academic State Championship with an unweighted GPA of 3.526. Not only were they the best in the classroom, but they were also one of the best in the state on the field as well. This team finished with an end-of-season record of 26 wins versus 4 losses, and were at one point nationally ranked. I want to thank Venice High School Principal Zoltan Koresli, Assistant Principal of Athletics Mike Rainey, Athletic Director Pete Dombrowski, and soon-to-be Athletic Director Larry Shannon for all their support and efforts in making Venice High athletics great. A quick recap of our baseball coach at Venice High, Craig Faulkner, who's about to come up and speak. He's been the head coach at Venice High for 26 years, and during his time, they've won 6 state championships and 3 academic state championships, and he's also in the FHSAA Hall of Fame. At this time, please welcome Venice High School head baseball coach, Craig Faulkner.
Thank you, James. Thank you very much for inviting us here, and it's a very special honor, so thank you for having us. I can't talk without thanking our principal, and our administration is so outstanding as far as academics go and athletics. They're a big supporter of everything that we do, always feel very supported. So thank you, Mr. Koresli, for what you do for us. Just like to brag on these guys a little bit. First of all, I just want to introduce one of my assistant coaches here, who is a volunteer, been volunteering with us for 16 years, been coaching for over 50 years. Jim Fuller came up today. So appreciate him being here. We'll talk about these guys. It started really this summer when most of these guys went on a trip to the Dominican Republic, where they went and worked in different homes and helped people out and gave away equipment and taught baseball and went into some really tough areas and just poured into the people of the Dominican Republic, and it spilled over into our baseball this year. This year we've done over 1,000 hours of service in our community. They've done Habitat for Humanity. We actually laid sod one morning. We set the record for the quickest sod laying of a home. I would not have wanted to mow that grass, but they really worked hard. They've worked in Special Olympics this year. They've done Challenger baseball. They've been in the nursing home dancing with some of those ladies. So they're really in our community, and I'm really proud of them for that. We've had some great events that they've put on and given a lot of time to our veterans. That we do a great Veterans Night at Venice High School with over 200 veterans coming in to throw out first pitches, and we honor them, and these young men learn about the honoring others. So it's a pretty special group of young men right here. Our motto at Venice High School is excellence on and off the field, and they were excellent on and off the field. Really, really proud of them. 3.52 is an amazing GPA, and that started in our leadership meetings before in the fall. Their goal was to be the academic state champions, and that's a tough goal. But that was their goal. They put that on paper and they worked at it. So it's a really neat honor, probably more special than a state championship baseball thing. So I'm really proud of them. I'd like to call each of them up here and give them an award. First guy is freshman August Backman. A few of our players are taking finals right now and couldn't be here, but the next guy is a sophomore, Carter Cox. Junior Brody Whitlock. Junior Logan Stevens. Junior Aaron Montalvo. Junior 4.0 Jackson Lucas. Junior Evan Ellsworth. Junior Nathan Dunn. Junior Nicholas Dunn. West Point commit David DeBrule, Jr. 4.0 student Jason Allaire. And now our seniors. First guy is a 4.0 with a 4.97 weighted Brady Shoemaker, and is going to Eckerd University to be a doctor. This next guy is our team leader, our captain. Unbelievable leadership that he presented this year. So going to be a catcher at FGCU, John Embry. This next guy is pitcher, relief pitcher, one of the best in the state, going to Lander University, Nathan Winterhalter. Next young man is a 4.0 IB student, 5.03 weighted, Pine View student, going to Davidson University to pitch, Simon Yoakum. Thank you.
I know. Awesome job, fellas. Great job.
And great accomplishment. I know we had one more young man that actually just made the Olympic team, and I know Mr. Edwards was one that mentioned it, so I'll let you maybe speak about who that is.
Sure. We found out this morning that Clark Dean, Sarasota Crew alumni and Pine View grad, made the Olympics this morning, and he's going to be in the men's 8.
Okay, today's school spotlight will be Alta Vista Elementary School with Principal Mindy Long presenting. Welcome, Principal Long. On behalf of the board, we're glad you're here. And also, you have so many grand events, and you're so welcoming to the board. We thank you for that and very much enjoy participating with your community and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Board. Thank you, Superintendent Connor and Chief Manelli for inviting me. It is exciting to get to brag about Alta Vista because we are doing a lot of great things. So I'm Mindy Long, Principal. This is my second year at Alta Vista. And we are very proud that this past year we have been an A, and we are hoping to keep working towards an A for this current year. A little bit about Alta Vista. We are just about 500 students, a little less, and we are almost 90% free and reduced lunch. So a Title I school. This past 2 years, we've had a huge focus on science, and it has shown that we have made 22 points growth for the first year. We're expecting that to continue to grow for this year. I brought along my math and science coach, Laura Busenberg. She's incredible. We collaborate a lot on ideas on how to make our science really, really stick for our students, and that really goes for like a school-wide incentive. We do science questions on the news every morning to try to get students thinking about science. We've had school-wide science vocabulary parades. We have monthly STEM challenges across the school campus. We have our little medical school that comes in for 4th and 5th grade, focusing on those science standards. And then really important, we have incredible 5th grade teachers that work on science, but we also have our special areas teachers that look at science data from our district benchmark assessments, and they go in and do interventions with students to really, really hone in on what students are missing. And of course, we also focus on math. So this past year, we had great growth in math. We are going to continue that great growth for this year. We've done a lot. One thing that we are consistently setting goals with math for is the Dreambox program. Since the inception of the North County Championship for usage and for students working through Dreambox, we have held that title, I think, since the very, very beginning. We have focused on that PLC cycle this year. Again, Laura Busenberg, our math and science coach, she works with teams in math to really look at that student data, look at standards, and how we can really get students moving in the right direction. So that is for our math. In reading and ELA, we have an incredible literacy coach, Bonnie Michaels. She's not here right now, but I will brag on her because she has also been working hard through that PLC cycle, making sure that teams are talking about standards, talking about data, talking about those interventions that really make an impact. You can see in that picture those ladies that look like the Beatles that are kind of lined up there, and gentlemen. They are an intervention team. They consist of Title I retired teachers, paraprofessionals, ESOL paraprofessionals, and they really make some magic happen. They collaborate with the classroom teachers, they pull small group, and they really focus on closing those gaps, and it has made a huge difference, especially for our bottom quartile students. We've invested so much in getting our families on campus, really having great literacy events to share strategies that families can use at home. And we are a Cambridge school, so we try to hit like those metacognition strategies on the morning news to really get students thinking about the way that they think about learning, to really think about what they're reading. And I think it is making a really great impact. So we can't do this all alone, even though we have incredible teachers and staff. We also have some really, really incredible community partners. And so we have an Eagle Nest Volunteer Center at Alta Vista. It has over 50 dedicated volunteers that come weekly. They don't just volunteer in the classroom, they actually make a relationship with a student. Teachers supply some activities that they can work directly with a student, but it's really those relationships that they bond with students and really can follow those students through year after year. It makes a huge difference to have that mentorship. Another big brag, I have to say, is our Eagle Academy Summer Learning Program. And I have to give a big shout out to Barbara Anigan. She is the visionary for the Eagle Academy whole program, and she really has supported the district-wide to really spread that through all Title I schools. But at Alta Vista, we've really kept the fidelity of what the Eagle Academy Summer Learning Program should be. We have all three components. We focus on academics during the day, we have a STEAM program in the afternoon, and then every Thursday evening we have a parent university. This past year, we had almost 200 students from Alta Vista enrolled in our program and over 100 families that engaged in the Parent University. And that really sets up for students what those high expectations and learning is for Alta Vista once they start in the fall, but also make sure that we don't have that summer slide. And it gets our families involved so that they know right away that they have connections and they have support from the staff at our school. Another unique program that we have at Alta Vista, I'm a fast talker, I'm sorry, is the SWAG program, which is students with amazing goals. Our 4th and 5th graders don't just set goals for academics during the day and what they're doing right now at school. They try to set those bigger goals for college and career readiness. So when they're looking at what they want to do, we get to go on field trips. We talk to the middle schools to talk about the different programs in our district. We talk about the high school programs and then college and career opportunities. They get to set vision boards where they really set those further goals and then work their way backwards. So if I want to be something in my future, what can I do right now in my classroom to make that goal really sticking for the future? So that's something we do at the end of the year. We're getting ready on Thursday. We have our senior symposium. So we have graduates that walk through our campus and they get to come up on stage. You can kind of see in the picture there. And our 5th graders get to ask questions about what choices they made over their years and kind of what their college and career aspirations are and how they got to that point. And most importantly is probably the way that we support our families. It really is a wraparound approach. We want to make sure that everyone feels included and feels that their students are cared for at our school, but that we also care for them. So we have an incredible homeschool liaison and social worker. We have families that work with Mary Tucker, the 2-gen parent navigator for North County Title Schools, where parents have the opportunity to go back to school or to focus on a new college or career goal for themselves. And that's such a great partnership for our school because it really gets parents invested in what education can do and really changes the trajectory for the entire family. We have amazing business and community partners that really support all the work that we do, and we really couldn't do that without such an incredible community team. So what makes Alta Vista the best school ever is because we have very dedicated staff, we have very hardworking students, we have families that are very connected, involved in our school, and of course, the community support that we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Long. One of the first schools I had a chance to visit when I came here was actually the Eagle Academy Summer Learning Program, and it is amazing the work that you do to coordinate and to keep focus, because you do have challenges at your school. You know, they come with a lot of support needed, and you have found a way to connect support to the family and to the students and to remain focused on academics, and it is evident in your results, and I'm so glad you got to showcase today and show everyone the great work you're doing. Thank you so much.
We're very proud.
Let's give Principal Long, her staff, and her students and those incredible academic achievement gains another round of applause.
Thank you.
Sure, please.
Ms. Long, you had some big shoes to fill, and you did a great job. You've created your own size, and you're forging ahead. Well done. And I really am so glad that you highlighted the family work that you do with 2Gen, because I think that the way that your families show up and engaged on a weekly basis. It's not just whenever you're having an event. They're there, your volunteers are there, the families are there, and it's a model for all of us to pay attention to. And say hello to Mary Tucker for me.
Thank you, I will.
Well done.
Thank you.
Superintendent Connor, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For our superintendent's report today, I want to start with some consent agenda highlights. I want to first highlight item number 8, which is the approval to purchase Read 180 for our high school reading intervention courses. This is a state-adopted curriculum. It's a research-based program that is centered on the science of reading with explicit and direct instruction for secondary level students who are not reading at grade level. So we're excited to see the results of this. Read 180 has been around a while, but I can tell you it is being implemented as be revamped to meet the needs of the science of reading. And we're excited to partner with another district who is seeing phenomenal results and see if we can replicate that with our high school students who are behind. So looking forward to that. More to come. Item number 8 is the approval agreement with Studer Group. We're very excited to be provided the resources granted by the Barancik Foundation, who are going to help support this initiative around organizational and service excellence and professional learning. We're going to be having an impact across this entire school district. We're going to start in our Summer Leadership Institute, kicking this off around that customer service culture that we want to really exemplify throughout the entire organization. I want to thank our Chief of Staff, Chris Renoff, who has really been the champion behind this and working with the Baransiks to secure this funding and this initiative, and I'm looking forward to all that will come with that. Items 11, 12, and 13 are the approval of the dual enrollment agreement with the University of South Florida. These are 3 distinct agreements, one for in-school dual enrollment, off-campus, and our early admissions program. Students are partaking in this, and some students are actually earning their AA degree before they actually earn their high school diploma. And it's a great opportunity for students to save money for college, but also earn that accelerated course credit in a variety of different ways. And so we're excited to continue our partnership with the University of South Florida. Another item is item 15, is the initiative with the Barancik Foundation for our recruitment, teacher recruitment, retention, and recognition. We have secured over $750,000 from the Baransics, which we're excited about, to fund projects related to teacher recruitment, retention, as well as paying our interns, teacher interns, a stipend, an hourly stipend, to recruit them and retain them here in Sarasota County. So we're looking forward to all of the efforts around teacher recruitment as we continue to battle the national teacher shortage crisis, and we thank the Baransics for all of their help. Item number 28 is the approval of the MOU for the summer hunger campaign between All Faiths Food Bank and the Sarasota County School Board. This is the 8th year of our working relationship to support students in the community and children over the summer. Last year, Food Nutrition Services served over 107,000 meals during the summertime, and the food bank was able to provide resources to assist our department and provide food backpacks for students and distribute that to families throughout a variety of locations. So we thank you for that partnership. A couple of announcements. Congratulations to Ben Zhang, an 8th grader at Pineview, placed first in the U.S. in the National Math Counts math competition in Washington, D.C. He snagged a $20,000 scholarship, so let's give him a big round of applause. Also, Laura Karp at Sarasota Middle School placed 3rd in the junior individual documentary category for the Florida History Day State Fair competition. Congratulations to Laura and her teacher, Dr. Jennifer Jasso at Sarasota Middle. Couple of changes we want to note. We're excited about where we're headed into the 24-25 school year. For our new position of Chief of Student Services, we will be having Dr. Kirk Hutchinson from Venice Elementary coming up to the district to help serve in that capacity, and we're looking forward to that. Dr. Allison Foster, who will now serve as the new principal of Southside, we want to thank her for her service as the interim superintendent, as also as the executive director of HR, and we know that she's going to do an outstanding job, as she has shown a tremendous track record of being an effective principal, and so we look forward to what she will be doing at Southside Elementary. In terms of our new executive director for elementary school, we will be having Miss Cindy Throw from Atwater Elementary joining our team to help support Jim Minnelli, our chief of elementary, as we reduce the span of control and help support our 26. We have 23 elementaries and 3 K-8 schools that need support, and looking forward to Ms. Throw joining the team. And Ms. Jamie Hannon, who was currently at Southside Elementary, has now been named the new principal of the K-8 located at Sky Ranch. So we're excited about her ability to really launch that school successfully and what she will do over the future there. So let's give a round of applause for all of these people. And it's been graduation season the last week, so I've had the great opportunity, along with everyone up here, to partake in all of the graduations, and I'm so thankful, and it was a joy and an honor to see those students beaming across the stage, and I really can't tell you which one was my favorite. They were all too good, but congratulations to the class of 2024, and good luck in all of your endeavors. And we are at the last week of school, so come Friday, everyone have a great summer. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. Welcome to the hearing of citizens segment of our meeting. This forum allows the community to engage with the school board on matters concerning our education system. All speakers should have submitted a completed comment card before this segment. Speakers will be called in the order received. Each speaker will state their full name and shall confine their remarks to the business of the school board. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. A timer will signal when 1 minute remains. Please conclude promptly when the timer ends. Please address your comments to the board, not to the audience. We expect all remarks to be delivered in a manner consistent with school board policy. Abusive language, personal attacks, or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Please direct any personal grievances or personal issues in writing to the school board office. Audience members are requested to listen quietly and respectfully. Outbursts, applause, or other interruptions that disrupt the meeting are not acceptable. Any person that interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting after first being warned that such continued interference will result in removal will be removed. There are speakers in the room behind me that allow board members to hear public comments when stepping away from the dais. When your name is called, please approach the podium. If you choose to pass, you will forfeit your time to address the board. We appreciate your cooperation, and let's begin with our first speaker, Mr. Enos.
Christy Carwat, and then, and I apologize, it's going to be Susan M. One second.
Are we ready? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Christy Carwat, a former parent, a retired Sarasota County teacher, a Sarasota taxpayer for over 40 years, and an advocate for public education. I was unable to attend the last meeting, but I did watch it online. I was not surprised by the outcome of the vote on Bridget's resolution, but like always, I had been hopeful that the board would do the right thing for all students. I understand the concern for safety of girls. I have a daughter and a granddaughter. I would do anything necessary to protect them. I would do anything necessary to protect all children, whether they were my own or someone else's. Something 4 members of this board did not consider before voting at the last meeting was how the passage of the resolution would impact the safety of transgender and non-binary girls. I would think each board member would carefully review issues by referring to two credible, non-biased sources before voting on important resolutions. Instead, 4 members of this board just let the puppet master in Tallahassee pull their strings. So I did your job for you. I did the research, and I found that according to a study conducted by researchers at Harvard, transgender and gender non-binary teens face greater risk of sexual assault in schools that prevent them from using bathrooms or locker rooms consistent with their gender identity than do cisgender students. In addition, a study by Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law indicates that there is no evidence that letting transgender people use public facilities that align with their gender identity increases safety risk of cisgender people. Furthermore, according to the American Pediatric Academy, sexual assault is highly prevalent in transgender and non-binary youth, and restrictive school restroom and locker room policies may be associated with the risk. I have a lot more data, but you get my point. It is your job as a school board to ensure the safety of all students, and it appears that the passage of Bridget's resolution will bring more harm to trans and non-binary gender girls than it will prevent harm to cisgender girls. But I don't think you really care about the safety of trans and non-binary gender girls, do you? Speaking of safety and the protection of girls, I want to remind this board, it is not only men who prey upon vulnerable young ladies, but some women also go on the hunt for women. And I know of one who has her husband do the hunting for her. People such as these are far more dangerous to our girls than any transgender woman. I heard Karen mention today about politics in schools. This resolution was nothing but politics and pandering to the extreme right. It's time for us to get politics out of the school system and away from the school board and focus on academics. Thank you.
I'll work on my penmanship, I'm sorry. It's Moss Lyon, Susan.
Yeah, Susan M., then Coach Con Nicholas.
Good afternoon, Susan Moss Lyon. I did not plan to return to this podium again so soon. After I spoke at the May 7th meeting, I was very surprised by the response I received from members of the public, my colleagues and friends. Many thanked me for being brave enough to speak up and say what many feel, but are afraid to say aloud for fear of retribution or job loss. I remind them I have only a limited number of days until I retire, 3 to be exact. Our staff members come to work every day and do their best to provide for every student every day. These same staff members are overwhelmed, disenfranchised, and disillusioned. The last board meeting and continued chaos did little to provide any hope for district staff that things would improve. 4 members of this board voted to defy federal law, proceed with policies that will harm our district staff and students. Are you listening to the people? You are elected to serve. Like all public servants, you are elected to serve all people, not just those who voted for you. Turn up your hearing aids, take out the earplugs, and listen to all people. The board continues to create chaos in this district, distrust among the staff. While this board works for public school district, they continue to undermine public education. Why must the good people and students of Sarasota County be sacrificed for a small, closed-minded, politically driven agenda? Are all the distractions for your political gain, his personal vendetta against others in the district? Why can't we focus on educating our students every day? How does a civics teacher respond to a question from an 8th grade student about our current board? Specifically, Bridget Ziegler. I guess I could have said, wow, it's really great that you are applying the concept we learned in civics when we studied the purpose, function of local government. But instead, I said, perhaps you should speak with your parents about those matters and do your own research and provide your own, find out what their actions are. If you need a refresher course on the U.S. Constitution or the Florida Constitution or your job function, my students could probably tutor you, along with the First Amendment right. I can only imagine what the students at our district must think with the latest chapter of the Bridget and Unchristian Diaries. Based on past actions of this board, the Bridget and Unchristian Diaries would be banned in our district for language and content. Isn't that the reason some books were removed from our shelves? Certainly the people of Sarasota County deserve and expect better behavior from our elected officials. Our students deserve positive, moral, and upstanding role models. The board needs to do better. Please, no more chapters, Bridget. We are asked every day to do our best for every student, every day. Err on the side of caution, be kind, stand up for others, especially those that can't stand up for themselves. Karen, just a few short years ago, you were put in a position that you had to take a stand for yourself, and you did. You got fed up, threw your keys across the desk, and retired. Of course, our staff do not have the financial comfort as you and Dan the man, and would not be able to just walk away, but you did just that. A group of Bowden mean girls, your words were forcing you to fire a well-respected, effective principal who was also your friend.
Thank you.
Coach Con Nicholas, and then Tracy Lipton.
Good afternoon. I've been gone a few weeks and have been following this board via my telephone. And I was out in LA visiting my daughter, Carly, who was a student at Brookside, Wilkinson before that, and Riverview High School. And Carly's gay. And when I shared this board's actions with her, she was really distressed. And she said, Daddy, what's going on? And I said, I don't know, honey, but it ain't good. And I want to specifically address this Title IX motion proposed by Ms. Ziegler, who's not here today, unfortunately, because a lot of what I have to say is addressed to her. But so this proposal supposedly was passed in order to, protect the girls. Who are we protecting the girls from? Is some straight kid going to put a dress on and go into the restroom and cause trouble? That doesn't happen. And are the girls in high school going to be all up in arms that some transgender kid comes in there and uses the bathroom? That doesn't happen. The kids don't care about that stuff. This board is here to protect every student, and that includes the LGBTQ kids. You know, there's stalls in girls' bathrooms. No one's in danger. And you're creating motions and you're creating perceptions that we should be afraid of these kids. And it's 100% false. This anti-LGBTQ stuff must stop, please. LGBTQ kids, as Christy Carwat just says, are the ones that are bullied. They're the ones who are made fun of. And you want to strip protections from them. Who do we really need to protect these girls from? When I was out in LA, I also read a story about a couple the husband goes out into bars and trolls for women, and the wife is at home getting pictures from him and okaying who he should bring home. Should we protect kids from the LGBTQ kids, or should we protect them from people like that?
Tracy Lipton, Dr. Sonia Howman.
Quickly before I begin, I wanted to know if I will be told to stop and have the mic turned off if I quote one of your school board members 2 different times with inappropriate language. But it's a quote from your school board member.
Your device.
Okay, well, I'll just go on then.
There's no devices. You cannot play a recording.
I'm not
if that's-
playing anything,
okay.
I'm reading. I Googled the definition of sexual predator. A sexual predator is a person seen as obtaining or trying to obtain sexual contact with another person in a metaphorically predatory or abusive manner, analogous to how a predator hunts down its prey. So the sexual predator is thought to hunt for his or her sex partners. So how should you, Bridget, be seen after you send your husband?
I'm going to stop you.
Of course.
You are getting into the personal life of someone, and it's not going to occur in this boardroom. If you'd like to address agenda items or board members in general, but we're not going to go down that road.
You're not going to consider this an issue at this county school board?
I can, excuse me,
behavior-
I could certainly empty the audience. I'm going to warn you, this isn't an exchange.
Oh, Lord, it's starting early.
So I ask you to please be appropriate in this board chamber.
I am being very appropriate. I'm speaking of actions of your school board member. I want my time reclaimed.
If you have a personal grievance with a school board member, I read at the introduction.
I have a grievance with some of y'all up there, and I'm going to get to that, okay? Okay? So all right. I'm going to give you a little, I'm going to compromise and go right to y'all.
Thank you.
But, well, it still has to do with Bridget, so. I'm asking this board, if the script was flipped, and, you're not going to allow this. I'm just going to get right to you. This is crazy. None of this matters. What matters are the lies that have been told over and over again, gotten caught in, the complete and utter lack of trust that the citizens and parents and children of Sarasota County now have for y'all. What matters is that one of your school board members, who is the co-founder of a classified hate group, what matters is that that person Bridget is the woman in all of the pictures standing next to the governor, grinning from ear to ear as he signed the bill that she championed, the Don't Say Gay bill, into law. She's nothing more than a distraction to this school board, a liar and a hypocrite, taking away from the time and energy that should be focused on what yours and the rest of the school board's job is, which is every student, every day. And when the rest of the text messages come to light, and they will, there'll be more school board meetings distracted, more school business not spoken, more school business and more children hurt, and quite frankly, more not taking care of children because of Bridget Ziegler. So try to save a little face here, and I'd like her to tell us once again how her main focus is the goal of the children, and say that as she's leaving the dais and position that she absolutely does not to serve on the school board. My question for Marinelli, Enos, and Rose, What if the flip was script? What if it was Mr. Edwards that had his husband out in the public doing what the public now knows? What if it was him instructing his husband to prey upon unsuspecting, probably intoxicated men and sending him pictures secretly so that they can come home? Would y'all been
Personal
screaming?
attacks are not why we're
I'm
here.
asking you a question. Would you be screaming from the rooftops that he does not deserve to be in the business of children, that he does not deserve to be on the Sarasota County School Board? I expect the same reaction from y'all as if Mr. Edwards had done this, but he didn't, because that's not the kind of person he is. It was Bridget Ziegler, okay? And more is going to come to light, and I expect a reaction out of each and every one of you. If the script was flipped, how would you have reacted? I expect to see those reactions.
Dr. Sonia Howman, and then David Sellers.
Thank you, Sarasota School Board, for allowing me to speak. I'm Dr. Sonia Howman, Christian mother of 4, retired critical care doctor. I wasn't shocked, but I was dismayed that you chose to vote for Ms. Ziegler's resolution. You chose to sign your names to something that contained scientifically verifiable untruths. Meeting after meeting, the LGBT children come here and tell you that this board has harmed them. But then you reject a federal regulation to protect them from that harm? Absolutely brutal. So I'm going to tell you the story of why I keep coming back here, why I'm really here. Back in the day, there was a Kids Eat Free night in Chick-fil-A. My friends and I would go every week. I made the acquaintance of a lovely woman with a beautiful daughter, big blue eyes, long blonde hair. She was sweet and brilliant. Years went by, my friends stayed close, but this particular acquaintance moved out of town, and other than a few perfunctory holiday texts, we lost touch. While in high school, one of my kids came out and told me they were transgender. Now, folks, you might have noticed I was an older mother. This isn't my area of medicine. I had no idea what the implications were. I spoke with experts in Tampa and colleagues in New York and Miami who specialized in that area, endocrinology. I read everything I could. I sent my child to see physicians and psychologists. I prayed with my pastor. And after careful consideration, my husband and I watched my beautiful child transition at home and eventually at school. He thrived. Several months later, that old Chick-fil-A acquaintance called me to tell me that her child had come out as transgender as well. She asked me what to do, and I said it was a deeply personal decision for her child, but I sent her the information I had gathered. A mutual friend told me the acquaintance removed the child from public school, enrolled them in a private Christian school, and would not let the teen cut her hair nor dress as they wished. I didn't judge her at all. We were both doing what we thought was best for our children. And flash forward, my kid did well. He's worked since he was 16. He earned a full ride to his college of his choice. He's in a committed relationship and very, very happy. And my acquaintance, a few months after her child started the private school, she called me. She found her child hanging from the ceiling fan in her bedroom. I still can't imagine her pain. Now, that child will never, ever be a statistic. She never was publicly transgender. Her parents were ashamed of her and never told. She didn't blackmail her parents with suicide. She just quietly ended her life. So, Miss Rose, I don't care if you got 1,000 emails. I don't care if you get 1,000,000 emails. Nothing is worth more than the precious life of a child. And no one's political career and no one's performative stunts are worth one child's life, and they are worth one child's well-being. The Florida children, they're precious. Straight or bi or gay, trans or cisgender, they must be protected at all costs. And it's about damn time you did that.
Thank you.
David Sellers. David Sellers. Carol Lerner. Carol Lerner's next then, and then Tamara Solom.
Carol Lerner. This is hard to follow. My eyes are tearing, and my voice is shaking after hearing that, but I'll do my best. The Sarasota School Board majority clearly had their heads in the sand when they passed Ms. Ziegler's resolution wrongly putting the district and Mr. Connor on record for defying new federal anti-discrimination Title IX rules on gender identity and sexual orientation. Either they don't read statewide education news or they are willfully ignoring it because districts all over Florida are in or entering budgetary distress. Here are a couple of many examples. Duval County school officials have recommended the closing of 30 schools. Broward County school officials were ready to close as many as 42 schools when the newly hired Broward superintendent suddenly quit for health reasons. I wonder why. His replacement received such outrage from the community about the proposed closing that he backed down, only for his decision to be reversed by the Broward School Board, which passed a plan to close 8 schools as a starter. Maybe our school board majority didn't hear or didn't care to hear what Mr. Connor and Chief Financial Officer Penner said in recent months. Last October, Mr. Connor announced a partial hiring freeze for the district. Then on February 20th, Ms. Penner told the board at a work session that student enrollment is projected to decline next year for the first time in over 15 years. Will Sarasota be closing schools? The causes are the same in Sarasota as all over the state. Student enrollment is down and certain monies are drying up. The problem is caused by decades-long privatization policies, particularly the universal super vouchers enacted last year, as well as an increase in for-profit managed charter schools, which we are experiencing here. Student enrollment declines are also caused by families fleeing Florida and Sarasota because it's unaffordable. Then there is the end of COVID ESSER funds and a decrease in Title I funds because families of low income can't afford to live here. To top things off, the birth rate all over the country is significantly declining. Broward County enrollment is down 22% over the past decade. It is a perfect storm, but it can be averted here with hard work and fresh ideas. Rather than passing culture war resolutions, the school board should be spending their time on the real issues and focusing on improving academic achievement. Clearly, the school board is not serious about taking on this challenge, at least the majority. Tom Edwards is. Bridget must go, and Karen Rose should follow.
Thank you.
Tamara Solom, and then Rana Bazzini.
Today I forfeited the opportunity to work so I could speak here today. Why would I do this? Why do any of the speakers attend? We come at great sacrifice to our families and our personal peace to express our deep concern for our Sarasota students and teachers due to ongoing hostile and political actions by this board. However, there is one thing I want to thank you for, and that is for spurring so many citizens to come here and speak up. Without your outlandish actions, like approving a poorly written resolution by Ms. Ziegler to oppose the new federal Title IX protections for transgender and non-binary students, I wouldn't have gotten to learn about the spectrum of sexual anatomy from Dr. Halman. Whether we are opposing costly contracts with mediocre charter schools or demanding the resignation of Ms. Ziegler on the grounds of hypocrisy involving her predatory and questionable exploits, each meeting I learn I am not alone in my outrage. I stand with the dad of the kindergartner who contends that actions of this board continue to throw Sarasota into the spotlight and would possibly result in dragging the district into expensive litigation and jeopardize millions of dollars in federal funding. I have become allies with many concerned moms, educators, retirees, business professionals, attorneys, school psychologists, multiple ministers, and so many young people who show up to almost every meeting and implore you to focus on every child every day, Ms. Rose. On May 7th, the board blatantly disregarded advice from Attorney Dugan and passed Ziegler's resolution even though the agenda was not posted 7 days prior to the meeting. While Dugan said he believed it only minimally complied with the law, he added that because the Title IX changes do not go into effect till after August 1st, it would make sense to hold off on implementing any resolutions. Mr. Enos, you have used your 32 years as a law enforcement officer to back up your decisions. Why did you choose to not stand behind this law, at least until the Alabama challenge went to court? Ms. Marinelli, you claim the government is holding our children, especially low-income students, hostage to receiving federal funding. Guess what, Ms. Marinelli? As constitutional officers, it is your job to follow the law. All federal funding, whether it's for Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, the military, all have to comply with federal guidelines. For you to oppose the additions to Title IX shows that you don't believe in protecting every student every day. And Ms. Rose, as board chair, you continue to ignore pleas from LGBTQ+ students who have been bullied and feel unsafe. Under your leadership, you have shown time and again that politics wins out over moral, legal, and fiscal responsibility. Why did this board not propose a work session to discuss the implications and wording of such a resolution? I can answer that, because Ms. Rose deliberately chose to inflict upset and disorder on our community. She bulldozed over Mr. Dugan's advice and proceeded with a vote forcing the board to break federal law. I believe it's past time for Ms. Ziegler to resign, and it's now time for Ms. Rose to step down as the board chair.
Thank you.
Rana Bazzini, and then Stephen Russell.
Good afternoon. My name is Rana Bazzini, and I'm a resident of Sarasota. I was standing outside in the heat, and I found myself perspiring profusely, which I ordinarily don't do, so I'm afraid I come before you as a moist member of the audience. Maybe that's the reason that what I'm about to say might sound profane. It's hard to categorize what these meetings have become, and there's a significant contrast between the workshops and the board meetings. At this morning's workshop, Mr. Connor outlined an impressive strategic plan. There were 5 pillars, the second of which has already been dismantled by a resolution passed at the last meeting. Now I'm at the regular board meeting, and I'm kind of confused. I don't know if I'm attending the Mad Hatter's Tea Party or if a 5th column has invaded our school board, where the ultimate goal is to take over or undermine public education. For the past several years, time has been wasted on the culture wars and distractions. Actions have been taken that rob funds from our public schools and some of the wonderful programs that Sarasota has. HB1 is an egregious example. On a local level, the recent passing of a resolution that followed none of the regular procedure and was against our lawyers' advice. Our proud motto, every student, every day, has been undermined. How anyone can listen to the testimony of our brave students or the previous physician who spoke and even think of passing that resolution is beyond my comprehension. I do understand the difficulty of acknowledging something that has existed for decades but has been hidden. The acceptance of our transgender population can be compared somewhat to the acceptance of gays and lesbians. I remember when they were in the closet. I do not understand not acknowledging science. Think of how long it was that it was believed the Earth was the center of the solar system. Well, science was able to correct that. On a positive note, which I like to end on, my pessimism has been turning slightly to optimism regarding the direction that Sarasota is taking. I just hope people will pay attention to the young people and the Sea Alliance, and I just hope the board and the public will not only listen to what they are saying, but pay attention. Thank you.
Stephen Russell, and then Julie Forstier.
There were scientifically verifiable lies to Ms. Ziegler's resolution to not abide by the new Title IX revisions. yet this board still passed that resolution. The board's attorney advised this board to table the resolution for time for legal to go over it, yet this board still passed it immediately. The new Title IX revisions do not mention locker rooms. They don't mention bathrooms. They don't mention sports. It simply added protection for sexual orientation and gender identity. Yet this board still passed the resolution not to abide by it. This board continues to operate under a political agenda and not in the best interest of its students. The new revisions to Title IX do nothing but add protections to every student every day. Yet this board still passed a resolution to not abide by it, against legal advice to examine the resolution further. Ms. Rose, Ms. Marinelli, Ms. Enos, and Ms. Ziegler do nothing but toe the line of the governor. You do not watch out for every student every day. You continue to marginalize LGBTQ students. Ms. Marinelli, I've never seen political theater like you exhibited in the last meeting. You reprimanded Mr. Edwards for speaking out against Ms. Ziegler. She's a board member that has no business being on this board. Then you railed against President Biden and the federal government for the threat of withholding federal funds for any state not abiding by the new revisions to Title IX, which do nothing but add protection to every student every day. Yet you still voted to pass a resolution to not abide by the Title IX revisions. Ms. Ziegler said she had to propose this resolution because she had to stand by her platform of strong family values. Let me repeat that. Ms. Ziegler said she had to propose this resolution because she had to stand by her platform of strong family values. Let that sink in. There's public record of her text. We know she's exhibited predatory behavior, yet you still support her. All you do is follow a political agenda. You don't look out for every student every day.
Julie Forstier, and then Shannon Clement.
I'm here today as a deeply disappointed parent. Disappointed by this board's actions at the last meeting, and especially disappointed in you, Mr. Enos. You have used your background as a law enforcement officer as your default reasoning for everything you have done on this board. You have specifically stated that you will always follow all laws, even if you didn't like them. What I want to know is how you can possibly defend your vote for the resolution to violate federal Title IX regulations and thereby break the law at the last meeting. And now you, Mrs. Rose. As chair, your role is to lead this board in the execution of its mission, serve every student every day. You have listened for 6 months as your students have shared that they need your support to have the schooling experience they deserve. Dozens of Sarasota County students have given you examples of how they are not properly supported by this board, and you've ignored all of them. You do not even pretend to be concerned, to not have the courage to address issues you may not relate to, makes you entirely unfit to serve as chair of this board. It is your job to support students, and yet it seems you prioritize your service to developers and to your political supporters. Your support of the resolution to deny your students Title IX protections against the explicit guidance of your attorney is reckless, and he did a great job of explaining why. Let's recap the reasons why this resolution should not have been voted on, let alone passed. The public wasn't given the required 7 days notice. It wasn't listed as an actionable agenda item. It wasn't vetted through an attorney or other stakeholders. It wasn't workshopped to determine what the consequences of such rhetoric might mean for the district. Additionally, there was no reason to vote on it because it would likely be resolved on its own by the time the law went into effect on August 1st. Yet you still felt it necessary to engage in political theater in order to energize an extremist base. By doing so, you let the students in the district know that you do not support them and further threaten their sense of safety and security by voting for this resolution. Shame on you. To top this all off, you knew that the resolution put the district at risk of losing over $50 million in federal funding. These actions collectively have rendered you incapable as school board chair. I'm asking that you step down as chair and asking this board to replace you with a more capable leader. Finally, evidence continues to come out that Bridget is not a safe or responsible actor. I'm curious as to why this board is comfortable ignoring evidence of one of their board members being irresponsible and unsafe while she is responsible for the safety of our students. As a mother who wants the best for her children, I feel disrespected by the idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shannon Clement, and then Wendy Rosen.
Shannon Clement, mom of an enrolled student recently accepted to the National Junior Honor Society and resident of the county. As this might be my last public comment for a while, I know you're all as heartbroken about that as I am, I want to start off by thanking our teachers and students. I watched the workshop today while I was working one of my 2 jobs, and to hear the raw numbers for the increase in ELA scoring is stellar. But with all due respect to Mr. Connor for everything he's done in the last year, including a very positive strategic plan, those results have little to none to do with this board and are 100% the result of our teachers doing what this board can't seem to, focusing on every child every day. In spite of absent or disengaged parents, in spite of a board that has been at best detached and out of touch, in spite of turnover and upheaval and shortages, it is solely through our teachers' ability to tune out all that noise and through the hard work of our students that they've succeeded. I've spent the last 17 months attempting to be proactive in what can only be described as a reactive environment. Mr. Enos, as a former law enforcement officer, I'm sure you can 100% understand and commiserate with not only how difficult that is, but also how frustrating it can be. But that's a point that your fellow board members don't seem to grasp. It doesn't matter what side of any aisle you stand on, what happens at this podium is purely reactive, either as it relates to policy, current events, or issues. The fact that you all never seem to be able to read the literal room is astounding to me. Again, actions speak louder than words, and what this body says doesn't align with its actions you've taken or even your oaths of office. An example, I've regularly extended requests for meetings previously. I was quite surprised and optimistic when both Mrs. Ziegler and Mrs. Rose accepted. Mr. Edwards I've had prior conversations with, but I've not heard a peep from Mr. Enos, and Mrs. Marinelli, though replying in a professional tone, was ultimately dismissive. So in case this is my last public comment for a time, might I impart my perspective? You want politics and decorum out, you want politics out and decorum in. You need to be consistent and stop showing favoritism when applying procedures and standards. Start holding each other to the same expectations as our students, which you don't and haven't done, and truly start modeling the actual behaviors we want our students to see. If you wouldn't accept it from a student, then the same should not only apply to us as speakers, but more importantly to one another as well. You need to stop with the BS tactics and antics and call it out when other board members attempt it, regardless of who they might be. Stop digging in your heels to be right and start doing the right thing. And most importantly, you need to be accessible and willing to listen to, collaborate with, and work for everyone, all constituents, not just those that voted for you. That isn't how public servants are supposed to work, especially because our kids aren't Republican or Democrat. They aren't liberal or conservative. Our students don't care. What they care about is they just want to learn and get through their day, and your job is to help our teachers and us as parents to help them. End story. And Mrs. Marinelli, I know you're probably paying attention in the monitor, but you're looking at the far young wander over here on my right-hand shoulder.
Excuse me.
So I'm just pointing out the respect.
We're not going to bully board members.
I'm not bullying.
Yes,
I'm pointing
you
out the
are.
respect.
Thank you.
Is not extended.
Thank you.
Wendy Rosen, and then Jules Rain.
Well, when I gave you a report card last week, I didn't realize that the League of Women Voters was doing the same. The League of Women Voters sends observers to every one of these meetings to observe the ethical and professional conduct of this board. This month, the League issued a report card, and Mrs. Rose, your grades were 1C, 5 Ds, and an F. Here's why. You refuse to follow a proper agenda. You ignore Robert's Rules of Order. Mrs. Rose, you allow prayer and scripture reading during a meeting that should only address the issues of the agenda. Mrs. Rose, you allow speakers to use abusive language, and you let board members disrespect one another. And most importantly, Mrs. Rose, you show no sincere concern for the many students that spoke about being harassed, bullied, and even dropping out of school because they felt unsafe in school. These young people shared their stories, and they did so here in a room with several hate group members from Moms for Liberty and the Proud Boys who support you. The League of Women Voters report card clearly proves that you are inept. The Title IX resolution was not an actionable agenda item, and at the last meeting, more than 50 teachers, students, parents, pastors, and grandparents spoke out against the Ziegler resolution. Why? Because there was no proper advance, no workshop, no legal review, no budget impact statement. You approved this resolution even when the board attorney advised against it. The board attorney? What is Ziegler's motivation? Why did the board feel such urgency to pass this resolution? What's the hurry? Was it Tallahassee? Certainly, it wasn't for headlines, because Mrs. Ziegler doesn't need more headlines. Thank you.
Jules Rain, and then Lieutenant Colonel Floyd Smiley.
Good afternoon, board members. I have a speech, but I'm mostly going to speak from the heart today. Author James Baldwin once said, "We can disagree and still love one another unless our disagreement is rooted in my oppression, the denial of my humanity, and my right to exist." I feel like by passing this resolution at the last board meeting, this board is denying the humanity of their trans students. They are oppressing them and denying their right to exist in certain spaces, simply based on who they are, how they exist in the world. And it's not right. Your motto is to protect every student every day, and you're not doing that. I'm trans, and I know personally many of the students in Sarasota schools, especially your trans students, and I can't tell you how many phone calls and texts I've had from them over this past school year because they have a gun in their hand or a belt around their neck or a bunch of pills in their hand, and they want someone to tell them to stop, to tell them they don't need to do this, to tell them that someone loves them, because their parents don't, their teachers don't, their classmates don't, and this board doesn't. And I'm tired of it. I don't want those phone calls. I don't want those texts. I run a peer support group, and I'm tired of it. According to studies, students with unsupportive parents and family experience a rate of suicidal ideation of 70%. 70% of these kids think about killing themselves just because they exist in a certain way that society says is wrong. You need to stop signing resolutions telling these kids they are not protected, that they're not respected, because sooner or later it's going to happen, and you're going to have to live with that, and I'm going to have to live with that. And these resolutions don't just hurt trans kids. In Naples, just a couple weeks ago, a kid was denied entry to her senior prom because she was wearing a suit. She's not trans. She's a girl born female who was denied entry because she didn't perform gender in the way that society said was acceptable. You know, in Utah, in February, we had a state board member accuse a girl on a high school basketball team of being trans. She got death threats. Her family was threatened. She wasn't trans. She was born female. And she was just of a bigger frame. These resolutions hurt everyone. That's all I got.
Lieutenant Colonel Floyd Smiley, then Jessica Thomason.
Hi, my name is Duffy, and I respect diversity. I had 3 adopted children and 21 foster children. I also respect our flag and the freedom and sacrifices it represents. I believe in American exceptionalism and respect for our flag. These are values that should be modeled by our school and our community leaders. It's my sad duty to report that today, 2 adults of the CRT DEI mafia did not stand for the presentation of the colors. They have the right not to stand for the colors, and I have the right and the duty to speak for those who can no longer speak for themselves because they died for the flag, or those who can no longer stand because they lost their legs defending it. And I have the duty and freedom of speech to call those who sit for our flag traitors, haters, and dividers. I believe the board needs to provide an accommodation for those traitors to leave the room and come back after the colors have been presented. God bless America.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. The audience speaking out, and again, bullying speakers is unacceptable, inappropriate, and really unbecoming. We're taking a 5-minute break. Excuse me. Are resuming the meeting. Mr. Enos, if you could call the next speaker to the podium, please.
All right, we'll start again. Jessica Thomason, and then Liz Barker.
Good afternoon, board members. My name's Jessica Thomason. While I'm here and Mr. Duggan's here, I know you guys pay him, but you don't listen to him, but I still want to take this opportunity to ask a couple questions. During the break just now, Karen's walking over to Robin, saying little things under her breath and milling around and obviously communicating with her. Is that a sunshine violation? It feels like it one, and if it's not, the optics are bad, Ms. Rose. I would recommend you don't do that. The second question, I watched a workshop a few workshops ago, and you specifically told Karen Rose that she could not clear the chambers just because 1 or 2 or 3 people are breaking the rules. You can individually take people out, but that you cannot clear the chambers of everyone because a few people are breaking one of your rules. So I would love at the end of this meeting some clarification from the attorney. You know, I know our regular attorney, our high school grad, isn't here to answer those questions for you. But anyway, Karen, I wish you were as upset about trans kids getting bullied as your friend Robin. You're that's the kind of energy I want to see from you when it comes to our children being bullied. Because you'll step right up. So I know it's in you, it's just you don't care is the problem. I listened to the workshop today, and it's amazing what Mr. Connor can put up with. It is incredible. And Robin got something right. She said, I don't have anything to do with this. You're right, Robin, you don't. Everybody in this district that is doing great things, they're doing it in spite of you, not because of you. This board majority is failing our district. We are lucky to have Mr. Connor, who is building it up. We're lucky to have amazing teachers who are building it up. We're lucky to have Tom, who is showing up. I have been a substitute teacher all year. I did it because I used to have a dream of being a teacher. I would never do that now. Never. In a million years would I do that full time. I couldn't do it. Because the politics that you guys bring in, and this is all across the state and country, it's too much. I really wish you cared as much about our kids as you pretend to. You can say a million times that you care about academic achievement. It is your actions, and your actions show that you only care about being divisive, political, and a puppet for the Zieglers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz Barker, and then Julie Ferguson.
Superintendent Connor, board members, good afternoon. I'm Liz Barker, mom of 4 kids in Sarasota County Public Schools, former school psychologist, president of the PTO at Lakeview Elementary School, and candidate for school board. As a PTO president, I get to spend most of my days partnering with our educators and families to create a welcoming and inclusive learning environment for all students. We might need a PTO here, I don't know. In this role, I have had the opportunity to hear from parents and educators from both sides of the political aisle. Regardless of party affiliation, families ask me the same questions over and over and over again. And they have become increasingly angry after this last Title IX vote. The first question is, why is our school board playing politics with our children? Second question, why do they repeatedly make decisions that endanger our schools' funding and waste our tax dollars? And 3, when will the chaos end? Each of you is charged with protecting and promoting Sarasota County schools, its employees, and students. Why then were you so quick to lead our school district against the advice of legal counsel into a battle between the state of Florida and the federal government? Our community is desperate to heal, and yet you continue to betray our trust by pursuing an overtly extremist political agenda. Reflecting on the past 2 years, a number of your controversial decisions have been identical to those of other extremist boards across Florida and the country. We're not a cookie-cutter district, and we deserve better than cut-and-paste decisions and policies. We have always been exceptional. We don't need politicians telling us how to run our schools. Sarasota County has always been better than that. So what's the goal? What's the goal of all of this? Given that our board is led by you, Chair Rose, who have publicly stated that you'd like to, quote, delete the Department of Education, is the ultimate goal to erode funding and trust to such a degree that public schools are no longer an attractive option for our families? I'm a parent who relies on Sarasota County Public Schools to provide my 4 children a quality education. So I deserve to know. Our families deserve to know. Our students deserve to know. This community deserves to know. What's the goal? Thanks.
Julie Ferguson, and then Lisa Schur.
I wasn't planning on speaking, but after watching the workshop, I need to correct Karen Rose. We are not the enemy going after 4 of the board members. Your inaccurate words plant seeds in the heads of Mrs. Marinelli and Mr. Enos. We are rooting for Edwards, Enos, Barker, and Marinelli, but the public must hold every single one of you accountable. We are a team. You also stated how much you love the superintendent. We all do. So I have a question. Did Mr. Connor have to sign the Title IX motion that was not advised by the board attorney? Is it political to force a superintendent to state that by signing that document, he agrees with Ron DeSantis, that he agrees that state law is more important than federal law? Did the superintendent have to sign the document about there being only 2 genders, even after medical doctors explained in this very room that scientifically that is not the case? If we all love Mr. Connors so much, and again, we do, then if he wants to apply for a position in, like, say, New England, we can't be giving him motions to sign that make him look like an idiot. This will follow him, unfortunately. Someone suggested a public record search on the emails that were received on Title IX to comprehend how this could have even come up for a vote. 1,000 letters, we'll believe it when we see it. We are indeed rooting for the staff and teachers. We're hoping for better toilets and working elevators. There's a lot going on. We know hands are tied legislatively. But what the board needs to know is that if you buy into it, that we are the enemy or have an agenda other than the best interest of our schools and maintaining an A rating, then you need to resign. We're only successful without the digs and gaslighting from a board chair and misinformation that attempts to spread paranoia. In order for the district to be successful, you are us and we are you. Mr. Enos once said to forget about the past. I say it's time for a reset of teamwork between the public and the board. Listen to your attorney. Don't forget that acknowledging a mistake or apologizing is a sign of strength, not weakness. Be impeccable with your word. We must set a good example for the students. Mrs. Ziegler probably shouldn't come back until she is one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Schur, and then Elizabeth Bornstein.
It's really great to see that this board is finally leading with honesty. No more pretending. Now it's just blatant politics and hypocrisy, and it's out in the sunshine. It's hard to determine the low point of the last meeting, but I'm not sure if it was when Tim Enos, who tells us at every meeting that he spent 32 years in law enforcement and he will always follow the law, but yet he kicked it to the curb. Was it Robin Marinelli dressing down Joe Biden for potentially enforcing a law to withhold federal dollars because she voted for a resolution breaking the federal law? How is it, Mrs. Marinelli, that you got your shorts in a major twist about possibly losing 50 or 100 million, who knows, of federal funds, but at the same time, I didn't hear a peep out of you when it came to Ron DeSantis turning down $250 million to feed hungry kids, or turn down Medicaid expansion, which would have helped millions of Floridians. Chair Karen Rose's rush to get Ziegler's anti-student resolution passed was epic. Ignoring the advice of counsel, she voted for a resolution drafted by Ziegler rather than a licensed attorney. In addition to risking millions in federal funds, you've also put the district at risk of defending against multiple claims filed with the Office of Civil Rights or civil litigation in the courts. So much for fiscal responsibility. Last but certainly not least, we have Bridget Ziegler's resolution stripping students of their civil rights and human rights and violating federal law. Ziegler says her resolution is to protect students by essentially saying that transgender students are a danger simply because of their sexual orientation. Never mind protections for all students. We all now know that we have a predator on the board. Fortunately, she's not here tonight. The hypocrisy was bad enough. Now we know she's a predator and a potential danger to vulnerable females, which includes the students in our schools. The evidence of her predatory activities comes straight from her own mouth, and I won't talk about moist eggplants tonight. This woman should not be allowed around our children. It's as simple as that. She's a danger. She's a predator. She's a huntress.
If
Yet,
you have a
Enos,
personal
Rose,
grievance,
and Marinelli
I
have
gave
refused to lift a
directions
finger
at the
to
beginning of
ask the
public
governor
comment.
to
You can write a
remove
letter.
Mrs. Ziegler. I did write to you, you'll remember.
The of the way you're addressing this board is unacceptable.
Well, the way this board treats the public is unacceptable, but that's neither here nor there. You know, I also,
We're going
I
to
like
take a
to be like,
5-minute break.
I like to be like,
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Rana and
1 minute. Mr. Enos, if you could call the next speaker, please.
All right, we'll get started. Elizabeth Bornstein, and then J.T. Pryor.
Greetings, Board Superintendent, Board Attorney. I'm Elizabeth Bornstein, once again here as a proud parent of a student in the district. We're a couple of days away from the end of the year. Whew. She's had a great year. Our school district, not so much. I really don't have a script or a speech prepared. I just know that I'm here because I'm really, really sad. I'm really sad that our district is being dismantled before our very eyes for political purposes. You know, it was Mrs. Ziegler who said when she ran for office that parents of the district are the core customer, and that we put our trust as the parents in you to educate our children, and that we have a right to have a seat at the table, right? That's what she said. I don't think she was talking about me, though. But we have a right, she said, to criticize our elected officials when we disagree and when we're upset. And I'm really upset. Mrs. Ziegler said, you guys have 3 choices. You can let the public speak and ignore it. You can let the public speak and absorb it and reflect on it. That was her personal preference. She's not here today. Or do not run for office, she said. Right? I mean, this is Mrs. Ziegler's words, the former board chair, the one who was supposed to be the upstander who's now fallen into the dark hole, right? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? She didn't even vote for Mr. Connor, okay? I was at those meetings too. I've been coming here for a really long time. Mr. Connor, on the workshop that I caught today, is the reason we're all here. Mr. Connor is who was my first pick, if I got to vote, is proving to be unbelievable at paving a new road for this district. And what are you doing? Throwing trash in his way. I want you to stop. My daughter has 6 years. You're going to be hearing from me for every month, twice a month, for 6 years. I'm not going anywhere because I'm an advocate for my child. I'm an advocate for students, every single student. The new mission, right? The strategic plan, Mr. Connor, hats off to you. Engage, empower, and elevate every student every day. That's what we're here for. Stop the political theater. Please stop gaslighting and saying we're the ones politicizing everything, because that's a lie. Mrs. Ziegler's behavior is unconscionable, and she needs to go. Take care of the people in your charge.
Thank you.
And I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere.
J.T. Pryor, and then Michael Weddle.
Good afternoon. I'm J.T. Pryor. I'm one of the folks who we hear about in public comment preaching their woke theology. Not happening in the schools, though. It's happening in a church where it belongs. But today I wanted to bring before you a suggestion that I'm positive that the majority of this board might actually support. And it seems like it's the time to change the motto of this school district from every student, every day. Now, I always want to advocate for all the students and their families who you were elected to serve, but this might be more aligned with what you have in mind. Last meeting, the board voted 4-1 to adopt a resolution that had not been vetted by an attorney or workshop to see how it could make our school district vulnerable. If we're willing to lose up to $50 million in funding, then we can't quite say every student includes those whose academics would suffer because of this loss of funding. Additionally, this board has created an environment where bullying is not only permissible but encouraged. We saw it today. But we also saw it when people ripped up fellow board members' resolutions, censoring and interrupting fellow board members, and allowing those in public comment to target other speakers from the public. If we're allowing this behavior in our meetings, then our students experiencing bullying aren't included in every student every day. The board has also talked about restricting public comment, which seems to be more about silencing those who disagree with this board. Teaching our students that if they're in power, they can look strong by silencing those who disagree with them. That, once again, does not include every student. But beyond the behavior of this board, perhaps the most telling indicator that this motto is not in action right now are the students, the trans students who show up to these meetings. They continually come to express the ways this board hasn't supported them. Students in this district who should be worried about doing their homework, not coming to fight for their rights to you all. Can you look them in the eye and say you feel like you've included them in every student every day? It's a jarring disconnect this board continues to demonstrate from what it says it values to what it actually does. The sentiment of every student every day is something we all want to get behind. We would love to get there, but we can't say that we're living that motto until this board can lead by example. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Weddle, and then Peter Castamento.
Hi, my name is Mike Weddle. I am really glad that we have members of our community, our neighbors, who remind us that there are potential victims of the votes that are made here and how serious this work is. I am no preacher, certainly, and you may never hear me quote from the Bible again. Maybe I shouldn't at all, since I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. I was not aware of the critique they made 2 weeks ago. But when I heard that this board, had voted to violate United States anti-discrimination laws, I was on a retreat. I was on the Way of St. James in Spain. So bear with me. I'm still on re-entry. I just returned home late last night. The textbook of DEI is in every one of our public schools. The textbook of diversity is Corinthians. We are all formed into one body. If all the parts were the same, how could there even be a body? The textbook of equity are the Psalms. We will judge in righteousness and execute judgment with equity. And the textbook for inclusion, of course, is Galatians. There can be neither Jew nor Greek, nor is there male nor female, for you are all one. Oh my God, that's forbidden for sure. Neither male nor female, school security would escort them right out of the building. Take no prisoners. People here have asked us to pray for this board, and I have. When I heard about this vote, I lit a candle in a little church in the town of Boadilla, Spain. But we should also light a candle or say a rosary or pour a libation or do something for the victims of the vote that was taken. You know, one of the main reasons we have government and have laws is to protect citizens from violence. That's why we have police. But that's true for all violence, including the violence of discrimination. Like all of us, you have a choice to follow a law or not follow a law. But do consider the consequences. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, and then Sandra Armstrong, or Sandy Armstrong.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Casameno. I'm president and executive director for a nonprofit in South County called Laurel Civic Association. So I'm kind of your breath of fresh air, I think, as I make my statement before you. I'd like to welcome Mr. Connor, our superintendent, and all the board members for giving me this opportunity to speak. I have a bit of a challenge. What we do at Laurel Civic is we use a holistic approach to break that two-generation approach to poverty. We have an adult side that has a workforce development program and a financial literacy program. We also have our youth program, and that's why I'm here to speak today. We have an after-school academic program. And this year, we have 97 students in our after-school academic program. About 80% come from the Laurel Nokomis School, where we take those students, about 50% who were failing when they came through our doors, and as of last marking period, because we're just waiting for the report cards for this marking period, out of 97 students, we had 93% above average. And I think that's a great accomplishment. And I will say the part of the great success we have is because we hire teachers from our schools to come in to not only mentor our students, but mentor our volunteers. Well, as you know, any good business grows by word of mouth. And we are expanding. We're actually building a new 70,000 square foot facility on Laurel Road, where we will be open to invite other schools in South County particularly, because it'd be the easiest for them to get there. And the Venice Middle School has already reached out, Principal Tomas DeVerno, and asked for a meeting with myself and my youth director, Alicia Williams. And we went and met with him, and he said, we'd like to be a part of your program. We would like to have our students bused to your facility. And I said, well, that would be fine as long as I can get the room, because we're tight on room, and I can also get the transportation. So I reached out to the school board transportation department, and I spoke to Ms. Charlotte Price. An email was sent. I received an email back saying we'll renew your contract for Laurel Nokomis School, but we cannot give you a bus for Venice Middle School. So I made a phone call to inquire why. I think it's a reasonable request. No return phone call, twice, until somebody who I knew Dr. Little, and I immediately got a phone call, and she told me because there was no openings in the PM slot, and it was not fiscally, quote, not fiscally responsible. Well, we are an extension of your schools. We are helping keep our schools A-rated. We are working with children who need the attention to overcome their challenges so that they can become above average students. In fact, in your motto, Superintendent, you used the word empower. That is our tagline. It's about empowering success. We want to make a difference. We want to work with the schools, and we also serve on the SAC committee at Laurel Nokomis School.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time and for your kindness.
Thank you.
Ms. Armstrong, and then Robin Williams.
Hello. Want to first say to the superintendent, I'm interested in hearing in your reports what's happened with meetings with ASALA and the folks who are interested in African American history. I'd like to hear more about what's happened with that. Always enjoy your presentations on what's happening with the school. It was wonderful to hear about Alta Vista. I go to a church across the street from there, and it's really nice to hear that all those young people that I see walking around and with their parents are doing well, so thank you. I'm disappointed from the last meeting. I think a lot of people were. You know, Mr. Edwards has worked so hard to keep such a balanced and on track and caring about what happens with students and what makes sense and what doesn't. And so I was very dismayed by Robin Marinelli pitching a fit towards him last meeting. I was also very dismayed that Mr. Enos, you in discussion seemed like you thought it was good to wait to vote on the situation about Title IX. And then in the end, you hemmed and hummed for a little bit, and then you voted with your three female friends there. I'm so disappointed. I'm a taxpayer. I love the kids in this county, and you've put us in a bad spot. I don't like coming up here and talking all the time, and I'll be gone for several months, so you'll be happy to know that. But I'm thinking about all of you who've known people, like the young people who just graduated. A lot of them are about 18 years old. And in 3 years, they'll be able to drink, voting, all sorts of things, but they'll be able to drink, and they could be one of those young girls in a bar having predators go after them. And I don't understand why you continue to support someone who does that sort of thing when your lawyer is saying, hey, maybe we want to watch what we're passing here, including what we're passing about the safety of all children, and especially trans children. You know, I think the doctor earlier was just perfect in explaining to you how dangerous your last vote could be. And I'd really, really like you to think about it in real terms instead of political terms. Thank you.
And the final speaker is Robin Williams.
The following petition calling for Ms. Ziegler's resignation from the Sarasota School Board has 426 signatures already in several days. An earlier petition calling for Ms. Ziegler's resignation following December's revelations has 2,428 signatures. Deeply disturbing, newly revealed police report information suggests deliberate involvement in sexual prowling by Sarasota School Board member Bridget Ziegler. Previously, the public was led to believe that Ms. Ziegler did not have a hand in orchestrating her husband's inappropriate and possibly criminal sexual misconduct. Sarasota Police Detective Cox's report, quoted in the May 16th Florida Trident, paints some very different pictures, stating, quote, there were numerous text messages between Bridget and Christian where they are on the prowl for a female, and Bridget's directing him to numerous different bars in search of a female that they are both interested in. During these conversations, Christian is secretly taking photographs of women in the bars and sending them to Bridget, asking her if she wants this one or that one. Bridget is telling him to pretend to take pictures of his beer so they don't see him taking pictures of them, unquote. Such behavior is highly unethical. Last December, 4 school board members signed a non-binding resolution calling for Ms. Ziegler to resign, which she didn't. This time, it's imperative that the Sarasota School Board and our state and local officials not only demand her immediate resignation, but they must write to Governor DeSantis insisting on her removal. Her behavior demonstrates malfeasance, intentional conduct that is wrongful or unlawful, especially by officials or public employees. Malfeasance is grounds for removal from office in Florida. Ms. Ziegler engaged in intentional, wrongful behavior while an elected official and public employee. It's particularly egregious for an elected official who's involved with the education, well-being, and safety of our youth. Why is this important? Ms. Ziegler's conduct's been a continuous distraction from the business of the board, the education of our students, and the board's stated commitment of every student every day. At the May 7, 2024 school board meeting, she proposed a resolution defining constitutional officer responsibilities by refusing to uphold changes to Title IX. She claimed she was protecting our girls while openly discriminating against certain students. This makes our students unsafe. Ms. Ziegler has damaged countless students' lives and is an embarrassment to the Sarasota County School District. She needs to resign or be removed. Join us in this effort. I also feel compelled, as a lifetime educator in the biological sciences, to comment on the sweeping falsehoods of the resolution you passed. The declaration, quote, that sex is defined as biological male or biological female, only two sexes, is an immutable characteristic that can't be changed, fluid, or altered, shows a complete lack of fundamentals in even first-year high school biology. Nothing in biology is immutable. Things are always changing. There's no nature-nurture dichotomy. It's a dynamic duo. Chromosomes are made of genes. Genes are expressed differently under different conditions, hormonal influences, temperature influences, a myriad of environmental influences. Epigenetics is an emerging area of scientific research.
Thank you.
You need to
Thank you. Superintendent Connor, revisions to the agenda after publication, please.
Madam.
During comment at the end, please, sir. Mr. Connor, Superintendent Connor, If you would,
Madam Chair, an addendum was added to item 7, the instructional classified personnel report.
okay, thank you. I understand that Mrs. Ziegler is out of town on a field experience with her daughter and is joining us by phone. Is that correct? To vote? Okay. Could you clarify whether or not she's with us? Because that will depend on a vote by voice vote or technology. She is not? Okay. If anyone needs to refresh, then we can go forward and, yeah, thank you. Looking for a motion that the board approves the amended consent agenda.
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
There is a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. And it passes unanimously. Moving on to new business. The charter school contract renewal for Student Leadership Academy. Do I have a motion? Mr. Connor will share some pieces on this item, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Student Leadership Academy has met the requirements to receive a 15-year renewal term as per Florida statute. The renewal application was approved by the board on March 5th, 2024, and this item now brings the contract for official approval.
Thank you, sir. May I have a motion?
Move to approve the charter school contract renewal for the Student Leadership Academy.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Seeing no comment on this item or questions, please vote. And the item, charter school contract renewal for Student Leadership Academy, passes unanimously. Item number 34, charter school contract for the Sarasota Classical Preparatory Academy. Superintendent Connor, please.
Yes, ma'am. This is the Sarasota Classical Preparatory Academy charter contract. The board approved the application on March 5th. Per statute, the term of the contract for this initial contract will be for 5 years from the date that the school is open. The initial term does allow by statute 2 planning years in addition to the 5-year charter.
Thank you, sir. May I have a motion?
Move to approve the charter school contract for Sarasota Classical Preparatory Academy.
Second.
And Mr. Enos?
Yes, in reference to this vote, I mean, obviously, it's also mentioned in here that they were turned down in reference to the property, that they were not able to get approval by the county. I will be supporting it, unfortunately, very, very, very reluctantly in reference to this and their application, because I believe that, and as I stated before, this is one of the situations where, as long as the requirements, and as the staff did for the approval process, that it's one of those things that has been taken out of our hands from Tallahassee through the Department of Ed, that, you know, I just, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, as I stated before, our hands are tied, and now, including now that they've lost their property, it'll be very interesting moving forward to see what they do. So with that high reluctance, as we are mandated to approve it based upon the Department of Ed, I'll be approving it, but I just wanted to make sure that if they're listening, that I would hope that they would be able to do better in the next time, or be able to provide some guidance and information as we move forward.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I will not be supporting this, and the reasons behind it, most have been discussed. One is it doesn't represent the best that Sarasota has to offer. Number two, as I stated, I believe in a meeting earlier today, sometimes you have to stand up for again to the legislature and have reasonable discussion and conversation about what works for a charter school and what doesn't work for a charter school, and let your voices be heard. And we never were given the opportunity to have that conversation amongst board members to discuss the pros and cons. Just falling over and playing dead to a legislative initiative, which, again, I support choice, but I don't particularly feel that the lack of choice that the legislature has given us is, and the lack of opportunity to respond to them in a reasonable, articulate manner as to why this school doesn't belong here, was denied to our community. So I will not be supporting it.
Seeing no further comment or questions, please vote. And the motion passes 3-1. Board member comments. Mr. Edwards, please.
Yes, there used to be a place, so I apologize. There was a place for board members to respond to public comments. I don't know. It may have been removed in one of the reiterations of, so I apologize for wanting to respond to public comments. First thing I want to say is a big thank you to the Barancic Foundation for the Struder Group and the teacher recruitment. That's a double header today, and those are two important key pieces that will be well utilized at the school district. So I wanted to say thank you. In response to public comments, there's a couple things that I think from my seat that I just want to respond to. Number one, I spend a fair amount of time with Mr. Connor, and I will tell you, Mr. Connor is, in fact, every child, every day. You need to know that. I try to separate myself from what happens up here politically and where the dissension is, and I continue to do my work and how I care about the schools and how I care about the teachers, and I will tell you that Mr. Connor has done exactly that. You need to rest comfortably that that is being done, and the people that he has brought to our school district are doing exactly that. And so a continuity of what Mr. Connor said about teachers is such an important glue that has happened in the divisive environment that we've been in the upheaval change that has gone on. Teachers have really been the boots on the ground. But I want to tell you that it's been a challenge for every student every day because of the culture wars. Whosever fault that is, I'm not going to sit here and point fingers, but you all can make your assessments of who is, where those culture wars started, who's enforcing them, and who isn't. I'm not going to pass those judgments. I think it's up to constituents to pass those judgments. But it's real important that you need to know, separate from what happens on this dais, Mr. Connor is every child, every day, and everyone sitting over there is. And where teachers or misunderstandings happened, it was because teachers got scared during the culture wars. So don't judge them either. So I just want to say that it's important that you all know that we're still doing well. Those programs that Mr. Connor put forward that are being executed by his team and being received by the teachers are having an impact. Yes, they're just beginning to have their impact because the continuity and the glue of the teachers with their boots on the ground really carried us through. Thank you.
You don't. Ms. Marinelli, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to, the past several days, the majority of us attended the graduations, and to see these young people graduate and go out in the world and all their accomplishments, I think it's a testament from their teachers, kindergarten through 12th grade, that they got to see whether they're going to college, going to the military, going into their careers. But it just makes me to be very, very proud to support our schools and be a citizen of Sarasota County. And it makes the future look very, very bright. And I just want to congratulate all the graduates of 2024 and the teachers and other staff that have worked so hard with them over the years. And at our last board meeting, I didn't get a chance. I went to Booker High School's Cambridge ACE graduation. That was April 29th. And there were like 54 kids, students that either finished the Cambridge ACE program or took courses, and the universities that they're going to and or the career or military. I think it just speaks volumes of what the teachers and administrators do at Booker High School, and I just want to express my thanks to them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Enos?
Yeah, also I'd like to say we went out to all the graduations. You know, one of the things that I would absolutely would like to impart to everybody is that, you know, I, as this particular board member and only as speaking for myself, is that, you know, I'm not any kind of a politician, nor have I ever been. But what I would say is that one of the things that is 100% abundantly true is that the politics that occur really detracts from all of the really great stuff that we end up doing on the board, whether that's at Sarasota High. You know, we talked this morning about no cap to get your cap, and about the direct one-on-one program that's being implemented at high schools so that these students, Sarasota High, in 110 years, this was their highest graduation rate that they've ever had. Or when we talk about 7 points going up in third grade reading, which could propel us to be #1 in the state, when we start talking about the policies and the stuff, it's absolutely, and I would agree 100%, that there are things that get presented that really put people into awkward positions as it relates to the politics of the board. And as you know, as with Mr. Edwards, as Ms. Ziegler, and the rest of the speakers and the people that we have up here, you know, one of the things I did do is after the vote in reference to the Title IX, I know that just from information, it does not take place until August 1st. Currently, we are abiding by what the law is in reference to the state of Florida and the federal law. I checked with Mr. Dugan in our policy 2.70, which is the bullying and harassment. We are in compliance with the Title IX changes as they would be presented as it would go forward in regard to bullying and harassment specifically. The rest of the stuff that's in there, that politicalness, you know, is not, as I had to really think long and hard about my decision on there. You know, there haven't been any fines at the beginning. It doesn't start till August 1st. We're waiting for the legal opinion, and it's what our legal opinion is that's come out of Tallahassee, that we will look at that legal opinion as we move forward, and that will be what we are charged to as a board, as this person is definitely going to do it. So at this point, I would just say that I 100% agree that the politics have to be, because it ends up putting people into positions that they're not okay with, and I'd be perfectly honest, as this board member, I wasn't okay with it. So I understand your concerns. I'm just, if you, at the end of the day, if you want me to speak how I feel, I'll tell you how I feel. That's what I'm trying to say. But at the end of the day, just because you disagree with how I feel doesn't necessarily mean that you're right. It means that this is how I feel. So I did a lot of checking in reference to these things because I do uphold that standard to myself. What I would tell you is at the end of the whole entire day, the thing that has to happen is the politics from everywhere have to stop. And I could tell you that no matter who you are or what you identify as or where you're from, is that every single student, based on our bullying and harassment policy, they should be in the process, is that every single student should not be bullied or harassed in Sarasota County. And if they are, you can give them my name, my number, you can have them contact me so that I can look into it, because I wrote the first bullying policy that was in the district. I truly, truly don't also paint everyone with the same brush, because I could tell you there are a lot of people that have done a lot of things with kids that sit on this board that I know personally that have helped out a lot of different students. Where it gets into the weeds is when we do things that that get into that area of the politics of the beast, where it should really be about the data of the kids. And as this board member, I don't really want to be put into that position. I've talked to Mr. Connor about this. I've talked to Patrick about this. Because at the end of the day, it should be about our 7% third grade reading that hasn't done anything in a long time. It should be about graduation rates. It should be about preparations. It should be about all of the really great things that are driven by the teachers, the faculty, the staff, the administration, and ultimately the parents. So with all of that, it was really, really great to go to the graduations. It was the fun part that occurs, is going there. Pine View's graduation was 4 hours and 8 minutes. So just a little bit on the longer side, but those kids are absolutely amazing. And 31 students are going to Florida State University, which always makes me proud, which was the most out of any of them. And it was really, really to see the students and moving on of whether it's going to go into the trades. And I mean, I like that the principal said, are you going into the trades? Stand up. Are you going to go to the workforce? Stand up. That every single student was standing at the end because they're going to come back, or they're going to stay, or they're going to do something within our community in order to make us better, which is ultimately all that I want to do. So with that, thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Enos. I would as well concur. Huge congratulations to all of our 2024 graduates. Those ceremonies were absolutely fabulous, a great celebration. The new strategic plan was presented today, very data-driven, and for instruction, performance, as well as the quality customer service piece that is coming forward. Very excited about bringing that back that we had in the past. Absolutely am ecstatic with the 7% increase in grade 3 reading, remembering that grade 3 is the greatest predictor for every student's academic success. That is profound accomplishment. To even grow a point is excellent. To have that kind of improvement in 10 months, going back to 2017 of where reading has been, this is phenomenal and to be celebrated. As far as the political piece goes, tonight was very much a message, and that message is in disagreement with what the majority board did, and that is your right. I think that politics isn't isolated. It can be definitely, there's a perception that there's politics in public comment. Speaking from my own perspective, I was given an email that came out from one of the representatives of the very consistent public speakers that are highly organized, often identified as activists, that wanted specific points covered that weren't necessarily what the intent of this board, what was said or what was portrayed. And I will say those were well covered. That list was very extensive, and it was very much reflected in the very strategic public comment. And it was also cited that there was an expectation that the media pick it up, and I'm sure the Herald Tribune will oblige you. So thank you. And the booing is something I would expect from you. When I look at ethical behavior and the ability to act appropriately, booing is, becoming an interesting phenomena with the repeat public speakers. Thank you. The next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 4th at 6:00 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.